All right, welcome back, Be Better Tribe. This is your host, Julian Alvarez. This episode is going to be talking about a book that I recently read, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And although that might sound morbid, it might sound, bringing up death again, I think it's actually a really great reflection on some of quick hitters that we can think about during our day-to-day lives and maybe shift our mindset just slightly so that we can live a more fulfilled life. But before we do that, reminder, you can visit our website, www.bebettertribe.com. I don't know why I said www. That's not necessary. It's bebettertribe.com. You can go ahead and grab some gear or the habit tracker that we have online, Be Better Weekly Habit Tracker. It really does help you stay consistent, helps you reduce procrastination, and stay on task to try to achieve the goals that you set for yourself. And, as we dive in, reflecting back to a lot of the topics that we've had here, this is episode number 30. I've interviewed a lot of inspiring individuals that talked about ways to be more productive, things that you should focus on as you're building your career, the right mindset that you should have when you take on challenges, things that you should do in terms of your networking to land the right job. So I felt like I wanted to do a solo episode. And like I said, I recently read this book. I've seen on Instagram some of these videos come up about discussing the 5 regrets or most common regrets of individuals that are on their deathbed. And I thought, again, it's an opportunity for us to reflect back. It's an opportunity for us to get in that mindset of like, what do they regret and what can I do potentially on a day-to-day basis to make my life a little bit more enjoyable for myself as well as those around me. So, as I said, let's go ahead and get into it. So this is about a book I read. This book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, was written from a palliative care nurse named Bronnie Ware. She was actually out in Australia, and she worked very closely with a lot of individuals in the final weeks of their lives. And what's really cool is she tells us the stories of these individuals and she gives a background, and it's all walks of life. And it didn't really, it didn't matter where they came from. Didn't matter how much money they had. It didn't really even matter how much they accomplished. It actually was centered around family, community, and connection and where they spent their time, which is what we will reflect on today. And so I think when we think about the book, it's a very simple concept, and the message was simple. When people know their time is limited, they stop worrying about impressing others. Their status fades, the title fades, money fades. What matters are the relationships you built, the experiences you had, the person you became, and whether you lived a life that was true to yourself. The incredible thing is that let me repeat that. The incredible thing is that none of these regrets are really about death. They're about how we live life. And there are reminders that we can make changes now, and we could do things now that will change the course of our life and how we reflect back on it. And so I think it's a great reminder for us to stay true to ourselves, be diligent with our time, and all of that. And so it's a great book. It's a pretty quick read. I actually listened to it. I listen to a lot of books. And if you followed along during this podcast, some individuals like my wife don't necessarily think listening to a book is actually reading a book, but I would challenge that. I think it's just a different way to absorb information. And so whether you want to listen to it, whether you want to pick this book up, or just have a listen to this podcast to kind of give you a synopsis and focus on the key elements and the key points that the book had to offer. So let's go ahead and get in. The first regret. So the number one regret for individuals on their deathbed. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself. So let me repeat that. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself. This one hits hard because I think it's so complex. I think in life, this statement seems very easy and it seems simple. However, at least based on my experience, this is really hard because I feel like as we get older, and as our responsibilities start to stack up, it's really hard to have the freedom to go and do whatever we want. However, I do think what it means and what I'm walking away with is we have the courage to make changes when we know we need to. And so, again, I'll repeat the quote and then I'll connect it to what I just brought up. So, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself. And so, what that means to me is having the courage to pivot when you need to. If you're in a job that's a dead end, that isn't getting you better, that there's the leadership's uninspiring, the company that you work for is not going anywhere, it's not growing, and you really don't see any path for promotion or path to get better, then yeah, you need to have the courage to maybe step away and do something different. If you're in a relationship that just isn't fulfilling you in the ways that you need, you're probably not living a life true to yourself. And you may need the courage to step away. If you're spending time in monotonous things that aren't making you happy and that aren't fulfilling you as a person, then I would say, yeah, it's probably time for you to make a change. So I guess when I think about this quote, I'll read it one more time. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself. I don't necessarily view it as like a life altering big decision needs to be made. I think it's actually broken down into smaller decisions and continuing to make those courageous choices to kind of pivot when you need to. And I guess it kind of boils down to like society tells us what success is supposed to look like. Everyone tells us like our parents, our friends, social media, coworkers, they often deter you away from making those courageous decisions. But at the end of the day, it's like you have to make that decision for yourself and you got to live with it, which I think is an important way to think about. And, you know, whether you are a partner to somebody right now, whether you are a parent, you are a friend, you are a coworker, any of those scenarios, I think it's all about like the way in which you're spending your time. If it's true to yourself and you're having fun and it's making you happy and it's getting you better, then of course stay there. But if it's not, have that courage to step away because again, time is all that we have. And you don't want to regret living a life that just isn't true. It's not true to yourself. And again, I think it's boiled down to more, um, I'm going to use the word minute, but more day-to-day decisions versus one big decision that you think you have to make. So I would recommend to break it down into smaller buckets and pieces because I think that's more of a reality how we build our life. And so I guess to me, it also relates to like the people you surround yourself with. But again, I'm not going to get into that topic. The number one regret is I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself. And I think the way I'm walking away with it for myself is being very intentional with the courageous decisions that I make on a more consistent way, more consistent manner, I should say. All right. Number two, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Now, this is one that's tough for me because I think working hard is extremely important. But what I do agree with is you need to have balance. I don't think it's worth it to work your tail off and not work your tail off to make all this money so that in retirement you get to go do travel and all that. When in reality, like you should be living the life that you want right now. Take time, take the work hard, then take the breaks, take PTO. Um, Try to carve out times in your day where you can be present with your kids or your family or your friends. But I think honestly, working hard means to me means working your tail off, putting in the hours, but doing it in a really efficient way so that you can take that time back to go do things that you love. And you know, on the other side though, work can be fulfilling. Work can be fun. And I'm blessed where I get to work with amazing individuals. I get to work with a lot of um, individuals that are new to tech sales, and I love coaching and developing them. I think it's super exciting and fun, and I get to try to instill things that I've made mistakes on so that they don't make those same mistakes, and ultimately they fulfill their dreams that they want for themselves. And so I don't necessarily think working hard, what they're trying to say here is I think they worked hard in the wrong way. or that worked hard for the wrong reasons. And this particular one, again, the quote is, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. It reminds me of that proverb or that story about the Mexican fisherman. And so I'll try to go quickly here. And I'm sure you've heard of it. If you haven't, check it out. It's pretty amazing. So there's this businessman. He goes down to a small village in Mexico. He goes down and sees a fisherman go out early in the morning. The fisherman goes out. He goes and fishes for half a day, catches a couple fish, a couple for his family for dinner, and then a couple to sell to the market to make some money so that he can go buy groceries and buy things that he needs. So he does fishes for a half day. He goes home. He has lunch with his family. He takes a nap. He goes sing songs with his friends, connects with them, has dinner, and goes to sleep. So the businessman says, why don't you stay out longer? Why don't you stay out all day so you can get more fish, sell more money, and buy a second boat? Then if you buy 2 boats, then after that, you could buy 4 boats. And then after that, you can build a manufacturing. Then you can go to the United States and build a bigger plant. If you work harder, then ultimately you can make a ton of more money and then you could retire. And then the Mexican fisherman just saying, for what? For what? For what? And eventually the businessman says, well, so that you can retire in a village on the beach with your family. And it's just this concept of like, yeah, you're working so hard, but for what? Are you working for your retirement with your family? Because sometimes you can, without the, I think what it's saying is without the urge or the eagerness to always try to work hard for the status, for more money than you might need, for all of that materialistic things, you're going to lose sight of like, you might be able to get to your end goal quicker if you just had a shift in mindset. And so I love that concept. And I think it relates to here of, I wish I hadn't worked so hard, meaning like, they potentially could have retired a couple years earlier and enjoyed some time with their family or taken the more PTO or time off and things of that nature. And yeah, they might have not driven such a nice car and they might have driven a lower tier car, but they were able to experience more. Or instead of going on vacation, they could stay at a maybe more modest Airbnb or hotel versus a really extravagant one. So I think it's all about perception. And as you're working hard, which I truly believe is a good thing, just think about the purpose of why you're working hard and if you're having fun with it and if it's fulfilling for you and all of that whole like story behind it. Number 3 is I wish I expressed my feelings. And I think this is important. I think it goes back to number 1 of having the courage to pivot and make changes. And I think you have one life to live. And if you feel a certain way, and you should express those, don't be scared to express them. However, also when you're expressing those, be diligent with your word. And I think it goes back to the 4 agreements that I talked about a couple episodes ago, which Don Miguel Ruiz talks about the 4 agreements where you want to be impeccable with your words because your words matter. But I do believe you need to express your feelings. You need to express what's top of mind. You need to be true to yourself again. I think it wraps into the first regret of there's like regret and rejection, I should say, is temporary, but what ifs are forever. So one of the biggest tragedies in life is assuming there always is going to be another chance, another phone call, another apology, another time that you could apologize, another thank you, another chance you could say, I love you. And there might not be. And so I think if you feel it, say it. If you have a chance, express those feelings for those people that are around you that mean a lot to you, and ultimately say what you feel. It's a great reminder. I think it's a great way to live. All right. Number 4, I wish I'd stay in touch with my friends. This one, I feel like I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back because I really stay true to this. I love doing this podcast. And if you haven't noticed, I've interviewed a lot of individuals in my past. And some of those individuals I hadn't talked to in over a decade. But to me, it's great to be in touch with those people because there was a connection there. There was something special, and relationships compound. Those small moments become lifelong moments. And as adults, it's so easy to drift. Life gets busy. There's kids, there's jobs, there's schedules, there's responsibilities. But, I shared a picture of a group of friends that I was able to watch the World Cup with, which we talked about last episode, that was really fun. And I think we've been friends, each of us, for almost 15 years each, if not more. And so I love to be able to connect back with those individuals, and connecting with friends, in my opinion, and connecting with those people and family members at least for me, when I get off the phone with those individuals that have made me smile in my past, it's always positive. It's always like, gosh, I miss seeing them. I miss hanging out with them. And for me, it's just a reminder that it's really important that we stay in touch with those people, because those memories are really all that we have. And like it talked about in the beginning, and like when individuals are on their deathbed, I can totally see why um, they wish they would have stayed in touch with their friends. And because, like, at least for me, again, when I walk away from conversations that I've had with people that I haven't talked to in a long time, it just makes me so much happier and wishing that I would do it more. And so um, I love doing it. I tend to sometimes, like, I like to be the glue to friends. I like these connections because I do truly believe it makes me super happy. And I think it's something that I'm going to continue to try to make sure I do, because again, I don't want that to be one of the regrets for me. The last but not least, number 5 regret of the individuals that they outlined here is, I wish I'd let myself be happier. This one kind of surprised me. I guess I I'm I'm a little bit on the fence on how to answer this one or how to talk to it, because I feel like everyone deserves to be happy. And for individuals that are having a hard time letting themselves be happy, I just wish for you the best. I think maybe tap into those 4 other regrets above, connect with your friends, have those courageous decisions to pivot. Um, Make sure that you're not working too hard, or you're not working in the wrong scenarios or situations. Express yourself as best you can. Um, and just reminder to schedule time that makes you happy, whether that's reading a good book, whether that's, you know, playing soccer in the backyard, reading to your kids, walking the dog, watching a sunset, traveling, whatever that may be. I truly do believe everyone deserves to be happy. And, I think one of the regrets is that this book outlined was they wish people would just let themselves be happy. And so, however you take it, whatever that means to you, I think it's always a good reminder for us to think about that and really hope for yourself to, put yourself in situations that are going to really make you happy. And so, with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. This was a great book. Again, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. She writes a beautiful story. There's a lot more detail there, and I encourage you to check out the book. It's a pretty quick read, or listen to it. It was actually a great listen on Audible or Libby. If you're familiar with the library app, it's really a great listen. So I'll leave it with this: the top 5 regrets of the dying. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends. And last but not least, I wish I'd let myself be happy. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully it gave you a little bit of a nugget to walk away with. And always remember to show up, stay consistent, and always remember to be better. Take care.